Hi, I'm Jed, and this is Quick Storytelling Tips. So recently I gave a fantasy novella that I'm working on to my friend for some feedback. My friend Xavier is a really great playwright, very talented, and he gave me a ton of excellent feedback on it. But one thing I want to focus on in particular, because I think it's applicable to anyone writing stories set in a secondary world, like a fantasy world or a sci-fi world, is this idea of animals. So in the story, there were two times where I just randomly mentioned crows flying above. I don't know if it was subconsciously because I like... We'll get that later. This book by Lee Bardugo, Six of Crows, which has crows as like kind of a common motif in it. I don't know if that was a subconscious thing coming into it, but I was in this interesting fantasy world where people had like magic powers where they could burn themselves to gain access to the energy of fires that they burnt themselves with, so then they can project flames out their hands and stuff. And despite that interesting world building, there were just banal creatures like crows and ants in my world, which I suppose you could kind of say is fine, but it's not really living up to the premise of your story. So his feedback was, why the heck do you have crows? Why not try having something more interesting? And it wasn't kind of a main bit of feedback, but as I was going through my novella, which I don't think I mentioned the name up until now, it's Fires of the Dead, should hopefully be coming out around September this year. So subscribe to the channel and you'll keep up to date with that. But going back into the second draft of that, I looked at the instances when I had crows and I was like, okay, what are the crows here to do? And they were there to signify that some characters had died, for instance. I won't try to spoil this at all. And thinking back to Xavier's feedback, I was like, yeah, screw it. I'm going to have more interesting creatures in here. Why do I need to have crows? So I came up with these large carrion eater birds, which are sort of like crows, except they're attracted to the use of magic in this world. So whenever the pyromancers, who are the name for the magicians who can throw magic fire out of their hands, whenever pyromancers use their powers, it attracts these birds who just come swarming in. They don't attack anyone, but typically whenever the pyromancers get out the flames, people are going to die. And those birds come and eat those dead bodies who have been charred by the fires. So instantly, this tiny little description, and it's only maybe 3 or 4 sentences in the final novella, instantly it just makes the world feel more internally self-consistent because you're having the creatures, the fauna of this world, respond to the magical premise of the story. So the key takeaway from this, which you can apply to your own stories if you're writing something set in a fantasy world that's different from ours or a science fiction world that's different from ours, is thinking about those little things like the animals. Maybe people aren't afraid of shark attacks in this other world of yours. Maybe they're afraid of these huge leviathans that are a kilometer long and live in the ocean and come out and capsize ships and stuff. That's just a small detail. It can be a throwaway thing, but it can add a lot of resonance and cohesion to your world by making readers realize, hey, the way that things are structured in this world are different. It makes sense that they have different animals in here. And that's our episode. If you want to stay up to date with my progress on Fires of the Dead, which, like I said, is a dark fantasy novella, should be coming out around mid-September in 2019. Be sure to subscribe to my Reader Club email newsletter. You can do that in the link below. And when you sign up, I will send you a bunch of free sci-fi and fantasy short stories right away. So what's not to like about that? I'll see you next time.